Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. The downward trickle in the price of oil is turning into a flood. 6 Persian Gulf oil producers, 4 of whom are OPEC members, are to meet tomorrow in Saudi Arabia's capital of Riyadh. There's a report the 6 already have agreed to cut prices as much as $7 a barrel. This growing price war, Ray Brady reports, could break the OPEC cartel and be trouble for Western banks.
On this federal holiday, there was only one hearing in Washington today, and it was on OPEC, locked in a war to cut oil prices, a war that had energy experts wondering about the very future of the oil producers group.
There is a very real possibility of a short-term collapse.
The latest shot in the price war was fired by non-OPEC members, the British, then the Norwegians. Known as the Blue-Eyed Arabs, they cut prices by $3 to $3.50 a barrel. Current price, $30.50 a barrel. Then Nigeria, breaking OPEC ranks, slashed the price of its higher quality oil by $5.50 a barrel. Current price, $30 flat, leaving Saudi Arabian oil high and dry at $34 a barrel. But the Saudis may well fire a round of their own and go to a new low, $27 a barrel. What could that mean? For consumers, a drop like that could bring savings of around 2 to 4 cents a gallon, on top of an already low national average of $1.15 a gallon. And according to one bank survey, if all of OPEC were to drop prices an average of $5 a barrel, American consumers could save $27 billion a year. But for U.S. oil companies, a price drop like that could cost $19 billion in revenues. And experts warn there could be other problems.
If the price cuts are too large and there is a free fall in the price, there could be serious financial repercussions that would affect the U.S. banking system, perhaps the world banking system, and that could have detrimental effects on economic recovery.
That's because the oil-producing nations owe billions of dollars to the world's banks, and lower oil prices will make those loans even tougher to repay. So that's bad news for the banks, but very good news for American consumers. Ray Brady, CBS News, New York.
The religious and ethnic violence that is raging in the Indian state of Assam is almost unspeakably brutal and savage. So brutal that for most of the estimated 1,400 people killed in the past 3 weeks, death from a bullet would have been merciful. As many as 1,000 may have been bludgeoned and burned in one mass atrocity last Friday. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi visited the massacre site today and said she had no words to describe the agony. Charles Osgood in New York traces the sources of this murderous hatred.
Survivors of the massacre, many of them now in hospitals under the protection of government troops, have been describing the horror of Friday night and Saturday morning. In the villages, they say, were mostly women and children. The men were gone, either on raids of their own or to escape the onslaught of the Assam tribesmen. The attackers reportedly flailed away with primitive tools, with axes, machetes, spears, burning the huts of villagers, butchering anyone who wasn't able to hide or get away. To begin to understand the murderous passions that were let loose here, you would have to go back centuries to the long and bitter hatred between the Muslims and Hindus on the Indian subcontinent. In 1947, when Mahatma Gandhi's nonviolent campaign won independence from Britain, he tried to prevent a separation, but he could not. To keep the Hindus and Muslims from each other's throats, India was bracketed on the east and west by a divided Pakistan. Many Indian Muslims were forced to go to East Pakistan, bordering the remote province of Assam. But even then, many came back to settle on the Indian side of the border, looking for farmable land. In East Pakistan, they would starve. And after the India-Pakistan War, when East Pakistan became Bangladesh, starvation became another name for the place. Immigrants poured into Assam by the hundreds of thousands, using the land, using the water, much to the resentment of the Assam Hindus, including student groups and the 16 tribal groups who feel the land is theirs. The Assam state government deported some Muslims back to Bangladesh, but the human tide could not be held. And the last straw was the decision by the central government in New Delhi to let the Muslim immigrants vote in the state and local elections just ended. Candidates were assassinated, polling places burned, communications lines were cut, roads were blocked, and there were raids and counter-raids, and finally, the bloodbath of this past weekend. Mahatma Gandhi taught that the pursuit of truth did not permit violence. Tonight, Gandhi would weep. Charles Osgood, CBS News, New York.
Today, take your first step into a bright new world of investment opportunity and financial security. Let Prudential Bache introduce you to Total Financial Planning, a lifetime strategy to properly place your investment assets for maximum returns. Total Financial Planning, the only sensible course of action for the uncertain 80s, and we offer it to you. Call us now. Prudential Bache Securities. Bring us your future.
Bring us your future.
Years ago, luxury cars began a tradition that persists to this day.
And what does this do?
Why, nothing. You see, it's a symbol.
Oh.
Thus was born the luxury car's preoccupation with prestige, a notion rejected by the BMW 733i. We place extraordinary engineering before self-congratulation. That's why our status symbol is under the hood, not on it.
26 million elderly Americans depend on Medicare for medical insurance. Phil Jones reports tonight they are being told the system is in trouble, big money trouble. And while the financial crunch is a few years off, the fear is now.
It is certainly no surprise that Medicare is facing financial disaster. But it was shocking to learn from a Congressional Budget Office analysis that the Medicare fund could be broke as early as 1987 or 88. The nation's elderly depend on this to help pay for hospital care, nursing facilities, and home health services.
All of Medicare virtually goes to senior citizens to pay those hospital bills. And if they are going to get stuck with large hospital bills, they'll be driven to the poorhouse in a matter of days.
Medicare gets its money from what is paid into Social Security, about 1/4 of Social Security withholdings going towards this health fund. But this won't be enough. The problem, according to the Congressional Budget Office, is caused by several factors. Healthcare costs are running at a higher rate than tax revenue collected. Also, the Medicare fund has been depleted further by borrowing from it to bail out the Social Security Old Age Benefits Trust Fund, which Congress is currently trying to repair. The solutions include raising taxes, something politicians don't relish, decreasing benefits and requiring beneficiaries to have private insurance to help pay for a bigger share of the cost, something sure to upset the elderly, or pressuring hospitals and doctors.
The problem is that health care costs are skyrocketing. Inflation went down to 4% last year, and health care costs are still up at 11%. The year before, they increased 19.6%. So we're asking hospitals and physicians to help us in this effort to hold down the Medicare costs.
Congressional hearings are scheduled on this crisis, but the mandate is already very clear. If Medicare is to remain solvent, it has to stop spending at a faster rate than it's taking from the taxpayers. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
On that score, the government's General Accounting Office today said there's a way for Medicare and Medicaid to save millions. The GAO's proposal, stop emphasizing speedy processing of claims and low overhead, and instead go after doctors who overcharge repeatedly and dole out unneeded treatment. The GAO's proposal to accomplish this, stricter audits. Now let's look at one state's way of finding welfare cheaters. A high-tech way that seemed a good idea with good results. But as Steve Young reports tonight, too good to be true, and just too bad for hundreds of innocent poor people.
They felt as though I was doing fraudulent things.
A welfare cheat.
Yes, a welfare cheat, quote and unquote.
June Cabana, 42, divorced mother of 3, caught in a net cast by the state of Massachusetts to catch welfare cheats. Using computers, the state has been matching people on welfare with assets they have hidden in unreported bank accounts. The computer discovered more than $2,000 in Mrs. Cabana's bank account. She and 1,700 other people spotted by the computers received notices that their benefits were being terminated. The welfare department was too short-staffed to conduct hearings first.
The sheer number would have created an intolerable burden on our field officers.
Massachusetts sent information kits to the 49 other states reporting that for every dollar spent on computer matching, $10 would be recovered from welfare cheats. The only problem is Mrs. Cabana and hundreds of others were innocent. In her case, a family bank account reflected a student loan granted by this bank so her oldest son could go to college. That put her over the asset limit long enough to make her a target for the computer. The Massachusetts Law Reform Institute, which is suing the state, says in the first phase of computer matches, nearly 30% of the matches were wrong. Out of more than 1,700 termination notices, more than 500 were sent in error. Welfare clients were credited with money that really wasn't theirs, and termination notices went out to welfare recipients with as little as $9.50 in the bank.
What they did is they made a conscious choice. Instead of investigating each case, they decided they'd terminate everybody and let everybody scramble to get back on.
It was especially hard for Mrs. Cabana to scramble back on. She is a paraplegic, paralyzed from the waist down.
I felt hopeless, actually, and I felt really like going down to that office and telling them a thing or two, you know.
The woman was right, but the dates that the bank had furnished were incorrect and inaccurate. That made our action right, but it was wrong in fact because of the inaccuracy in the dates, and we have, I think we either have reinstated her or are reinstating her now.
Hi, Gregory, how are you?
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
70% of the people caught by the computer are welfare cheats, but a woman in a wheelchair has become a symbol of the other 30% and the fact that solutions to social problems aren't simple. Steve Young, CBS News, Boston.
The business-supported conference board today said economic recovery appears to be underway in the major Western industrial nations. This research group says that for the first time since August 1981, indexes to gauge future economic trends are up in all 7 of the nations covered by the board. The historically defense-minded AFL-CIO today called for smaller defense spending increases than those recommended by the Reagan administration, and the giant labor organization proposed a $46 billion jobs program for fiscal 1984. Federation President Lane Kirkland said defense spending should not come at the expense of social programs. Kirkland said the Constitution imposes a governmental responsibility to provide for the common defense and general welfare, not the common defense or general welfare.
It's here, a typewriter superior to the IBM Electronic 75 with pages of memory, proportional spacing, and automatic justification. Even IBM admits this is better than their best electronic typewriter. What could possibly be better than the IBM Electronic 75?
Why, the IBM Electronic 85. What else?
Tuna on rye, no pickle.
That was tuna on white.
Your eyes will tell you. Your mouth will tell you. Stouffer's lean cuisine not only looks terrific, it tastes terrific. And if that's not enough, your scale will tell you. Your mirror will tell you. His eyes will tell you. That great lean cuisine taste is less than 300 calories.
I love the way it looks on me. I love the way it looks on me.
The Democratic presidential candidate considered the one to beat by his rivals today officially declared for the job. Bruce Morton was at ringside when that well-known hat was tossed in.
The frontrunner announced today. Name Walter Mondale, nickname Fritz, age 55, occupation explorer, exploring the waters until today. Little known fact, used to be a pea lice inspector. Yes, checking peas for lice. Well known fact, he's ready.
I know how to shape a government. I know how to manage and how to lead. I know the American people, and I know myself, and I am ready. I am ready to be President of the United States.
Mondale is the frontrunner. He's the best-known Democrat, not just generally, but among the leaders of the various groups, labor, blacks, Hispanics, which make up the Democratic Party. He has, most people agree, the best staff, deep in people who have been around the presidential track before. Weaknesses?
He's just a warmed-over Carter.
Mondale was, of course, Carter's vice president. In a more general sense, Mondale may suffer if he is seen as an old-fashioned, big-spending Democrat. He does come out of the Hubert Humphrey New Deal tradition, seen as a Democrat who will make promises to this group and that, seen as for big government in an era when that is less popular than it was, seen as a man of accommodation with the party without deep convictions of his own. And he has the basic front-runner's problem, the need to win everything or be seen as suddenly a loser. Still, there is no issue so far this time, like Vietnam in 1972, to propel a long shot to the front. Who wouldn't, in these early days, just as soon be number one? Bruce Morton, CBS News, St. Paul.
Seattle authorities today asked Chinatown residents to cooperate with police seeking a third suspect in Saturday's gambling club massacre of 13 people. Security was heavy as 2 suspects appeared at a pre-arraignment hearing for what the mayor called a once-in-a-century crime. The judge refused bail for Benjamin Eng and Quan Mac, who arrived in this country from Hong Kong 5 to 7 years ago. Police suspect robbery was the motive, with one source saying as much as $100,000 was on hand at the gambling club at the time of the attack.
When the Ross's TV set was stolen, it was 5 years old, but Aetna didn't quibble. Aetna replaced it with a brand new model.
Aetna, I'm glad I met you.
When the Gilberts' house was destroyed by fire, Aetna settled in full within 3 days, so they were able to rebuild right away.
Aetna, I'm glad I met you.
If this is the kind of complete coverage you want, maybe it's time you met Aetna.
Aetna, I wish I'd met you.
It was born over a decade ago in the finest wine-growing regions of America. It was created from the finest wine grapes that could be grown and brought to perfection by the most experienced winemakers in the world. It is the extraordinary white wine that has shared more of the best of times than any wine made. The wine, Gallo Chablis Blanc, America's premier white wine. From Ernest and Julio Gallo, all the best.
The flight of the FA-18 has never been smooth. From drawing board to runway, the planes had trouble winning acceptance. For almost 3 months, Defense Secretary Weinberger has been trying to decide what to do next. Now, Bill Lunch tells us there are signs this expensive aircraft might have trouble getting off the ground in the next Pentagon budget.
The FA-18 is an adopted warplane trying hard not to become an orphan. The Navy chose it in 1975 as a lightweight, low-cost aircraft with 2 very different missions. Armed with air-to-air missiles, the Hornet is a fighter designed to protect the Navy ships from enemy planes and fly cover for the Marines' jump jet attack planes. Or with bombs under its wing, the Hornet is an attack plane for striking enemy shore defenses. But instead of a simple, lightweight $8 million plane, the Hornet grew into a heavy, high-technology plane costing 3 times more. 2 years after choosing it, the Navy tried to bail out of the deal with McDonnell Douglas and Northrop.
I did try to kill it in 1977.
James Woolsey was Undersecretary of the Navy in the Carter administration, but the Navy's recommendation to stop the Hornet was overruled.
The real problem comes down to, does the airplane have the range to be an effective attack, that is, weapon, air-to-surface weapon and bomb-carrying aircraft for the Navy? If not, it's a very expensive fighter plane for the Marine Corps.
Last fall, the Navy's own test pilots said the plane was not operationally suitable in the attack role because of its limited combat range, which meant that aircraft carriers could be forced closer to the Hornet's targets, making the carriers more vulnerable to enemy missiles. The Navy and McDonnell Douglas concede the F-18's range limitations. What they stress is that the Hornet is more flexible, reliable, and survivable, and costs less to operate than other Navy warplanes. So far, the Hornet is operational only with the Marines, who use it primarily as a fighter. Their pilots are satisfied customers.
We are enthused with its performance in all the arenas across the board as a fighter and attack airplane.
We think it's the best thing that the military has invented in the last 20 years.
Defense Secretary Weinberger, who has ordered an investigation of hidden cost overruns in the Hornet program, has not decided on the plane's future. Sources say Deputy Secretary Paul Thayer has recommended cutting the total program from 1,366 planes to less than 1,000. Congress could go further in search of big budget savings. Killing the Hornet won't be easy. It has powerful friends with names like O'Neill and Kennedy in Massachusetts, where General Electric makes the engines. There are a lot of jobs at stake. In Missouri, where McDonnell Douglas assembles the plane, in California, Northrop's home base, and in 41 other states where Hornet parts are made. The FA-18 seems to be a classic case of a good weapon that doesn't quite match the job it's been given. In today's budget climate, the question is, can the nation afford a $40 billion misfit? Bill Lynch, CBS News, Patuxent Naval Test Center, Maryland.
U.S. Marines and Italian soldiers moved out of Beirut today, not to patrol, but to help rescue travelers trapped in Lebanon's worst blizzard in memory. But they had to retrace their steps when Syrian troops controlling the area refused them access. No reason given. At least 39 people have frozen to death on the Beirut-Damascus highway. PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat's plans to get a moderate approach have apparently been heard by the PLO's National Council meeting in Algiers. A spokesman says that while the council is expected to declare President Reagan's Middle East peace plan unsatisfactory, it will not flatly reject the plan. The spokesman says the Reagan proposals don't make the grade because they fail to call for an independent Palestinian state. A hijacked Libyan airliner carrying 159 passengers remains on the ground in Malta tonight. Prime Minister Dom Mintoff is negotiating with the 3 Arab hijackers. They say they'll blow up that plane if it is not refueled and if they're not allowed to take off for an undisclosed destination. No Americans are believed on board.
Denture wearers, here's Martha Ray with big news.
Folks, if you wear dentures and smoke like Ted, I've got a new super strength denture cleanser. Just for smokers. New Smoker's Polident. Watch. We'll take half this denture stained with tobacco. Ugly. Now, new Smoker's Polident. It's the only cleanser with a super strength cleaning system to get tobacco stains super clean. See? So take it from a big mouth. New Smoker's Polident gets tough tobacco stains super clean.
No matter which of these stomach remedies you take, for gas, pain, and pressure symptoms, we'll prove Gas X tablets break up painful gas bubbles better and faster. Watch. Intestinal gas bubbles are much like bubbles in beer. Add one of those stomach remedies here, Gas X here. 1 minute later, stomach remedy shows little change, but Gas X breaks the gas bubbles. They're almost gone. For fast relief, get Gas X, the 100% gas reliever.
Mrs. Clay, are you all right?
Oh, fine. Sort of.
Little constipation.
I wish I felt better about my laxative.
You'll feel good about this one. It's gentle. It's the Overnight Wonder.
Hexlax?
The Overnight Wonder. Give me your hand.
Why, it's a pill.
Right. Developed by Xlax to gently restore your system's own natural rhythm.
So it really is gentle.
You'll feel the difference in the morning. Try Xlax pills. The Overnight Wonder.
The most famous myth concerning the larger-than-life figure whose birthday we observe today centers on the line, "I cannot tell a lie, Pa. I did it with my hatchet." Not everyone is so honest, however, and in today's all-too-real world, we attempt to measure truth by machine. And as Bernard Goldberg reports, that now includes an Hooray for Hollywood media mix.
Mr. Atchison, your decision to let your client go on a Hollywood TV show was either brilliant or crazy. You know that. Yes.
This is a polygraph instrument in the hands of an expert, technology's most accurate means of determining the truth. Robert Glass maintains his innocence and claims he was set up.
Back home in Mobile, Alabama, businessman and former state senator Bobby Glass has been fighting for his life. He was indicted by a federal grand jury charged with taking part in a kickback scheme at the end of his Senate term, charged with defrauding the federal government of disaster relief funds in the horrendous aftermath of Hurricane Frederick, which ripped through Mobile in 1979. Glass facing 15 years in prison and needing somehow to prove that his accusers, 2 state officials, were lying, was desperate. Until...
And I was watching TV one day and I saw Mr. Bailey on saying, if you feel you have been falsely accused, call this number.
Call the lie detector hotline, 1-800-LIE-TEST.
So I just took the bull by the horns and I called, and 3 days later we was in California.
Glass was indicted and charged...
Direct from Hollywood, it's Lie Detector, a syndicated TV show hosted by that famous defense lawyer F. Lee Bailey, a show that gives truth or consequences a whole new meaning.
This is your chart, Karen, and you are plainly lying. This is Donald Riggs' chart, and he is plainly telling the truth.
All sorts of people actually come on the show to try to prove they're not liars.
Evel Knievel, attempting to prove that his famous Snake River Canyon jump was aborted by accident, not on purpose. Evil says it was a malfunction. He didn't chicken out.
For Bob Glass, it was a lot more serious. He was trying to convince potential jurors back home in their living rooms that he was innocent, since the program almost certainly would not be admitted in the courtroom. Too many critics thinking the lie detector simply is too unreliable.
Did you ever agree to provide kickbacks to Kilo or Deep?
No. I was afraid. It was not a pleasant trip. If they say go west, young man, it was not, I went west ready to come back south.
This test is over. How do you feel at this moment?
Scared to death. I'm going to jail if I fail this test.
Based on the examination, former Senator Glass was telling the truth.
Oh, man, I feel super.
But that was only a video verdict, and only in Hollywood. The real-life drama has been unfolding right here in Alabama. And now that real-life drama has a twist worthy of Perry Mason, or at least F. Lee Bailey.
The day we were in Mobile to talk to Glass and his lawyer, that paper he's holding arrived in the mail. It's from the U.S. Attorney informing everyone involved that all charges against Glass have been dropped, that his accusers had in fact lied to the prosecutor. The U.S. Attorney, John Bell, who would not talk on camera, says, yes, he did see the show, and yes, it did raise some questions.
There's no question in my mind that appearing on this show, it saved me from trial.
Lie Detector, the show that gets to the truth.
Some people might call it downright demeaning to take such a serious matter to what one critic called the equivalent of bowling for truth. Some people.
Your decision to let your client go on a Hollywood TV show was either brilliant or crazy. You know that.
Yes. At this time, it was brilliant. I won.
Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, Mobile, Alabama.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Monday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Burlington fabrics weave their way through your life every day in surfboards, in skis. Fabrics for new soft luggage. Fabrics for the great outdoor life. All made better by Burlington. Fabrics for hang gliding and sailing. Fabrics that make tires stronger. Even fabrics for faraway journeys. All made better by Burlington.
Hey, you folks enjoying the trip?
Last week, the Orient Express.
This week, the Cairo Local.
Very international.
Right down to my car.
International. So world meets so welcome. I bought my scuba in Aruba. So world meets so welcome.
I'm Bill Curtis. The Diet Soda War, Why a Billion-Dollar Industry is Scrambling for Sales, and Linda Ronstadt tomorrow on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.
In the governor's correction policy, but that could mean more money would be needed. Details on that story next on Eyewitness News.
From Television 5.